So you want to be a dungeon master?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're covering the subclasses for the Warlock, not covered in the 2014 Player's Handbook. With these, we can add more patrons to the pantheon of potential people of passionate power. From xanathars to tashas, all the way to old ravenloft. There's six Warlock subclasses to cover, and each one packs a punch of personality to the pact that infuses the Warlock with their very source of magic. Think of the possibilities. Anywho, there's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. But first... Patron quests. What are they?
Yeah.
How can we set one up? And how do we keep them from taking away from the main plot or from the other party members?
Wow, that's a very big open question. So a patron quest is like, as a warlock, you get your powers from some external source, and that comes in the form of like a deal that you make with that patron.
Mm-hmm.
So the quest itself would be the terms of the deal, basically. Would be like, okay, well, you said you wanted power. Here's your power, but now you have to go do XYZ for me.
Yeah.
So as far as setting a plot like that up, setting up some kind of a quest like that, there's two different ways you could go about it. Number one is keep it a secret. Just basically either talk with your player before the game even starts and be like, okay, so what are your patrons, stuff like that. What kind of deal do you think you would have made to be that, like to become a warlock? Or it could be something that you do in game, because not everybody has, super fleshed out, this is what my warlock patron is, and this is what I want from it, and this is all this other backstory stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need all that. You can just introduce it later on in the game via a dream, or maybe the patron just shows up itself in front of everybody and be like, hey, it's time to pay up, type of deal.
Right. Yeah. I find with things like this, I think it's, because I've made this mistake in the past, not with a warlock, but with a character's backstory kind of thing. With the deal specifics, you don't want it to have a very clear ending, like a binary. Like,
Right.
I'll give you powers in exchange for you killing this person. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Because then it's like, once you kill that person, then what? Then the deal has to continue somehow if you want to continue being a warlock. So then you have to figure things out, and like, is there a clause to the contract or something? You know what I mean? So trying to find like open-ended relationships that can continue and that further favors can be asked for. That's how I set up most of my warlock patrons.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like a very big end game thing. Like with our home campaign, Sword Coast Coup, with Fellis's character, her patron has been asking for something that I know full well you guys won't get until like end game shit. But the patron also, because of that, I have to make the patron somewhat understanding of, having some patience.
Right.
You know what I mean? The last thing I want is for the patron to be like, now you don't get your powers. I need you to ditch everything and finish this one thing. And it's like, well, I'm not going to do that. So
right. That would be like that type of a scenario you would want to clear with your player first. Of, hey, would you be cool if you lost your powers for a session or two? And honestly, that's what it would be. It would have to be a session or two. Otherwise, why be a warlock type of deal? But it could be an interesting way of advancing that particular plot if you're really wanting them to go down that rabbit hole with you. Mm-hmm. Of like, hey, the warlock's patron is pissed now because you said you were going to do this thing. You were going to go get this MacGuffin, and you didn't. You had a chance and you didn't. Now, warlock, I'm taking your powers. Go get the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it just comes down to, here's what I would do as a DM at least, is how do I wrap that patron quest into the main plot or enough of the other characters' backstories in such a way that it isn't going to isolate the warlock or like create a situation where the warlock needs to like leave the group.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that to be the
yeah.
outcome. So I have to prevent that from happening proactively. And so it's like little things of just making sure that it's like, oh, it just so happens that the patron's request is like kind of aligned with the group. That's crazy.
Right. This is wild. Who would have thought?
Yeah, like there can be like some, you know, differences, of course, and like how things get accomplished or whatever. But at the end of the day, you want all of the players to feel like main characters, not just one of them. So that's where it comes into.
Right.
And sometimes it depends on the patron. Sometimes the patron can ask for the tiniest little thing. You never really know, right? Like I have patrons for some warlock characters that are so freaking impulsive and random and chaotic, and they're the most fun to play as a DM and like from a role-playing standpoint, and it's just a blast to truly have a, like, people who are familiar with Sphinx City will know the character Trinculo, who owns a gothic nightclub called The Church. Like, they are so chaotic, and they've been a warlock patron in a home game of Sphinx City, and even just last night in our session, called up the character who is the warlock, invited them to the club. When they showed up, the first thing they said to them was like, "So I need to share something with you, but you can't be mad at me. Promise not to be mad." And finally, the character agreed, like, was like, "Okay, I promise I won't be mad at whatever you're going to tell me." But of course, you know, it's Trincula, so they're a little crazy.
Right.
So it was like, all right, but pinky promise. And as I'm describing their pinkies wrapping around each other, I was like, you feel the weight of 1,000 suns' gravity coming and converging on the point of your pinkies touching. And when you release, you feel aeons of history flash before your eyes as this promise is set in blood. And then Trinculo said something stupid like, "Remember when I told you this? I lied. Actually, I already knew that." "I'm so sorry." And that was it. It was like the dumbest fucking thing. It was just like, that's how impulsive they are. And then like some of the favors have been so stupid. Like just I think Trincula's most recent favor was, "Hey, I have this old flame that I used to hook up with, but we haven't spoken in a long time. I just need you to track them down. They go by the Rat Queen. So if you can just find where they are and what they've been up to and set up a meeting, that'd be great." And that was it. Not that big of a deal. But for me as the DM, that mission not only gets them into, if you're familiar, I'm not going to spoil it here, but go back and watch Sphinx City. You know who the Rat Queen is.
Mm-hmm.
It gets them into that place where you can find her. I know Taylor knows what I'm talking about. But it also potentially gets them into the sewers, and I want them to go into the sewers for story reasons. So it works out in so many different ways. And it's just like a fun little side quest for Mar. Just like this thing that character gets to, here's another thing I did for my patron. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So they can be really small, tiny things. They could be big plot-related things. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, hey gang, we wanted to talk to you about something pretty important real quick. See, we have some really cool ideas for the future, but we need your help. You can do that by supporting us through our Patreon. At the lowest tier, you get early access to podcast episodes, access to episodes of Action Surge, our post-session table talk show, and entry into a private channel on our Discord server. At the next tier, you can get access to Bonus Action, our bonus content podcast where we talk about a huge variety of D&D and TTRPG related things, like Multi-Class Mystery Mashup, where we get 2 random classes and have to build a character, or Monster Matchmaker, where we go over our favorite monsters at each CR level, or recaps of our home campaign, plus so much more. Joining the Patreon helps us continue to grow and put out content that gets better and better as we learn, improve, and try new things. So, check out the link in the description to join the gang today. Let's get into these 6 subclasses. Are you feeling one way about any of these that you would like to definitely cover? We usually
I will. I'll start it off because I like the genie and the undead. Both of those are a lot of fun.
Roger.
So we're gonna start off though with the Celestial Warlock. So much like we just finished talking about this from the last episode on the Sorcerer, the Divine Soul. This is kind of a healer, like an off healer type Warlock.
Mhm.
You get a lot of cool healing abilities and stuff like that. Getting into the expanded spell list for the Celestial Warlock. Unlike other classes where you get like domain spells that you always have prepared and always known, Warlocks are a little bit different in that the only thing that changes is the spell list that they can pull from, other than Warlock, has just been expanded. They don't count, like you don't just get these, you have to actually prepare them as spells still, like learn them and prepare them as spells.
Mm-hmm.
But at first level, you got Cure Wounds or Guiding Bolt. At second, and as part of the expanded spell list. Second level, Flaming Sphere and Lesser Restoration. Third level, Daylight and Revivify. Fourth level, Guardian of Faith and Wall of Fire. And then at fifth level, Flame Strike and Greater Restoration. These are spell levels, not character levels, by the way. First level spells, second level spells, third level spells, not. Yeah, anyway. So those spells are added onto your spell list. Obviously, Cure Wounds, great healing spell. Revivify, also great. Greater and Lesser Restoration. A lot of cleric stuff on here. A little bit of Wizard too. Wall of Fire, Daylight. But very honestly, all in all, great spell list. For filling that off healer kind of off cleric role. You also get the light and the sacred flame cantrips. You do get these cantrips, and they count as warlock spells for the sake of attack rolls and whatnot, saving throws, stuff like that. Then starting at first level for your Celestial Warlock, you get the healing light feat. Basically, you get a pool of D6s equal to 1 plus your Warlock level. It's a bonus action to heal a creature within 60 feet of you, spending from the pool of D6s that you have. You can do up to your charisma modifier number of dice per use. So if your charisma is only a +3, you can only use three dice at a time, no matter what your Warlock level is. And then you get all of them back on a long rest. So again, good off heal, good way to pick people back up for the basically
really
that's
nice.
It's really good for just picking people up. You just roll a d just to get them some health, so they're not rolling death saves anymore.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
So great versatility there at first level. Moving on to sixth level, you get the Radiant Soul feature. This gives you resistance to radiant damage, and then when you cast a spell that deals radiant or fire damage, you can add your charisma modifier to 1 radiant or fire damage roll of that spell on one of its targets. So if it's like a somehow you get Scorching Ray or something like that, or Flaming Sphere or something like that, where it's attacks, it can hit multiple things in a turn. Only one of those you can add your charisma modifier to.
Right. Still solid.
Still very solid. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's also going to apply to cantrips.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes some of your cantrips more empowered.
Yep, absolutely. And then moving on to level 10, Celestial, you get the Celestial Resistance, which gives you temporary HP on a short or long rest equal to your Warlock level plus your charisma modifier. And you can also choose up to 5 creatures that you can see when you do this at the end of the rest to gain half temporary HP equal to half your Warlock level plus your charisma modifier. So yeah, I mean, temp HP is awesome.
We've seen this in action with Fellas in our home campaign for Sword Coast Q. Recaps available on the bonus action. Check out our Patreon. Link in the description. But yes, this is incredible. Yeah. Players love to shove this in my face too when you finally hit them with a monster and they're like, that was just my temp HP. It's like, shut up. Shut up. Every fucking time.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, awesome spell at, level 10 at as far as like temp HP, as just having that little extra buffer goes a very long way. But then moving on to level 14, you get the Searing Vengeance feat. Whenever you have to make a death save, you can instead just stand up. You get you can choose, you get half your HP max back. You can also choose to stand as part of this. And then each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you takes 2d8 plus your charisma modifier radiant damage and is blinded until the end of the current turn. There's no saving throw. It just happens.
So cool.
You can do that once per long rest.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but they are only blinded until the end of the current turn, which means your turn. So,
yeah, but the nice thing is this does happen at the start of your turn.
At the start of your turn, right, exactly. Because this happens when you do a death save, which is technically the start of your turn. That's why if you get a 20, you can pop back up.
And still have the rest of the turn. Yeah, it's huge.
Right. Yeah. This, in general, is just huge. Once per long rest, you can just be like, nah, I'm going to get up now.
Yeah, it's so cool. I like that a lot.
And it's the beginning of your turn, and everything around you is blind. All the bad guys around you are blind.
Yeah. That's impressive. That's really, really cool. I like that. I like that as a 14th level ability. I think that's pretty powerful, and it's not. I mean, once per long rest is plenty.
Yeah,
that's really, really good. Okay, the Celestial. Hell yeah,
the Celestial.
I like it. Celestial made its way into the 2024 Player's Handbook. I will say that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we finally got ourselves a copy of the PHP 2024, and eventually we'll be talking about that after our 1 year anniversary of the pod. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the Fathomless, because most of the subclasses did not make it into the 2024 Player's Handbook. So let's understand them first as they are. Excuse me. Let's understand them first as they are, and then who knows? Maybe down the line we can help see if this whole backwards compatibility. What am I saying?
Backwards compatibility.
Lost my life in the middle of that word. Okay. Back to the Fathomless. So this is just playing with the idea that your magic comes from a deep, dark source at the bottom of the ocean. Really just playing with that unknown of water, of the ocean, of the depths, the undiscovered, the unexplored. That sort of creepy. I think it's Thessalophobia. Is that the one that's like
Thalassophobia?
I could be. Yeah,
I don't know. I said that, but I honestly couldn't tell you.
Thalassophobia. I think you're right. Yeah. The persistent and intense fear of deep bodies of water such as the ocean, seas, or lake. Thalassophobia. There we go. We got there.
Yeah, we got
So the Fathomless is not for you.
The weird things my brain hangs on to.
But okay. So at first level, you're going to get that expanded spell list started. First level spells, create or destroy water and Thunderwave. Second level spells, Gust of Wind and Silence. Third level, you get Lightning Bolt, Sleet Storm. Fourth level, you get Control Water and Summon Elemental, but only the water form. And then fifth level, you're going to get Bigby's Hand. And then in parentheses, they say that it appears as a tentacle. As a DM, I'm not going to give a shit about this. But
no,
I get what they're saying. I get what they're trying to do. And then Cone of Cold. So all possible Warlock spells for you, specifically, that you can prepare. Some really, really good ones on there. I mean, Lightning Bolt is incredible. Bigby's Hand is so cool. Control Water is a spell that, like, when it comes up, that spell can change your world. Like, if you're playing a nautical... This entire subclass, by the way, is going to be one of those things that there's going to be some campaigns where this truly makes zero sense. You shouldn't play it. And then there's going to be other ones where it's like, my God, you must have a Fathomless Warlock in your party. You are playing a pirate-themed campaign. What are you doing? You know what I mean? So,
right.
Take it with a grain of salt. Although it could be really interesting to find how this character got there and how they're going to survive in a campaign that is landlocked. I kind of do think that's very funny.
Yeah.
And it's like a cool challenge. So who knows? Maybe something to think about. but those are just the expanded spells. Then we get into Tentacle of the Deep. As a bonus action, you create a 10-foot long tentacle at a point that you can see within 60 feet. It lasts for 1 minute or until you use this ability again. And when you create the tentacle, you can make a melee spell attack against one creature within 10 feet of it. On a hit, it takes 1d8 cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 until the start of its next turn. Or start of your next turn, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
When you reach 10th level in this class, the damage increases to a 2d8.
Nice.
Solid as hell.
Love it.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so this is all bonus action. Move the tentacle up to 30 feet as a bonus action and repeat the attack.
Yeah, it's kind of a...
you could do this up to it's all good. You could do this up to a proficiency bonus number of times per long rest. Pretty solid.
It's kind of... Yeah, it's pretty dope. It's kind of like a...
spiritual weapon.
I don't want to say poor man's spiritual weapon because it does things that spiritual weapon doesn't do. Like the speed reduction is really nice.
Yeah.
You can't really upcast it or anything like that. You do get a little bit more damage at level 10. So this is going to be one of those things where it starts off probably really, really helpful and then tapers off as the campaign progresses. But it's still, the fact that it does speed reduction on top of, the damage that it does, that's where it really shines.
Yeah, big time. And the fact that it's a bonus action.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be times where you're not using your bonus action. Maybe you're not a sorcerer who's dipped into quicken spells. So you got a bonus action to spare. You never know. So that's dope. Then you also get Gift of the Sea. So you gain a swim speed up to 40 feet and you can breathe underwater.
That's dope. We're
really beating this hippocampus to death, which is a water-themed horse, for those people who don't know. Anyway.
I thought that was a part of the brain.
It also is a part of the brain.
Okay.
But it is also, hippocampus is like a water seahorse, but like the front half is way more horse-like. It's like a horse mermaid is a hippocampus.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Anyway, 6th level, Oceanic Soul. You have resistance to cold damage. Cold damage is one of those things that gets associated with water stuff in D&D, mechanically speaking. You'll see it a lot. That and like acid damage sometimes shows up in that way too. You'll see it a lot with like elementals that are water-based. You'll see cold damage. You'll see sometimes acid, but resistance to cold damage. And when you are fully submerged, any creature that is also fully submerged can understand your speech and you can understand theirs. So that's just a cool little RP thing. It's something that as a DM, if they're going underwater that much, I would already hand wave or like I would hand wave by giving them like a cheap magic item that's like, now you can understand each other underwater, so that it's not just like 10 hours of people making the joke of being like, and it's like, all right, guys, that's not funny anymore.
Right.
Let's move on. But still very cool. 6th level, you also get Guardian Coil.
Nice.
When you or a creature you see takes damage while within 10 feet of the tentacle that you summoned using your tentacle thing, you can use your reaction to choose one of those creatures and reduce the damage to that creature by 1d8. When you reach 10th level in this class, the damage reduced by the tentacle increases to 2d8. So you're just reducing a little bit of damage. Sick as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, anywhere on here, does it say does the tentacle have like hit points or anything?
No.
Dang, that's crazy.
It's just there. It's just like spiritual weapon. It's just kind of there.
It doesn't provoke opportunity attacks or anything, but it does have. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was like, dang. Okay. Grasping Tentacles, level 10. You learn Evard's Black Tentacles as a domain spell. Look at this little hyperlink, so helpful.
So by domain spell, this is one of those ones that doesn't require preparation or
you just always
doesn't take up one of your and you just always know it. It doesn't count as one of your known spells. You just have it.
Cool, awesome. So it's a action to cast, 90-foot range, concentration up to a minute, 20-foot square on the ground, ebony tentacles spring out, and for the duration, that whole thing is difficult terrain. When a creature enters the area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there, it makes a dex save or it takes 3d6 bludgeoning damage and is restrained. A creature that starts its turn in the area and is already restrained just takes the bludgeoning damage.
Rough.
Without a save. And then you have to use your action to make a strength or dex check to break the spell save DC and get out. But it's still difficult terrain and everything. So there's just so much about how this could, depending on the map, depending on if you have bottleneck potential, like that spell could change. That's nuts.
That, and also, being able to, you could use your tentacle to reduce their speed so that they still, even if they break out, they still can't get all the way out of the 20-foot area.
Yeah,
and
that's wild.
They have to remake the save again.
Yeah. Wow. That's dope. And you can cast this once without using a spell slot per long rest. And when cast, you gain a temporary hit points equal to your warlock level. And
that's awesome.
Because it's not even over. Also, damage can't break the concentration on that spell.
That's wild.
So that is bonkers. You still do have to concentrate on it, but still, now you don't have to drop concentration for that reason. This is very, very powerful. Very cool. And then 14th level, we get Fathomless Purge. As an action, you can teleport yourself and up to 5 other willing creatures that you can see within 30 feet of you. You all vanish and reappear up to 1 mile away in a body of water that you've seen, a pond size or larger, or within 30 feet of it. So if you're not in the body of water, you can appear within 30 feet of it, each of you appearing in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of the others. You can do this once per short or long rest. That is incredibly powerful.
Mile.
That is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so powerful. Oh, man. Yeah, it is truly going to make a difference about the setting and stuff like that and the bodies of water that are available. But also, I mean, by all means, if I was a player and I was using this subclass and I saw this on the horizon as an ability I eventually will get, this is one of those times when, as a player, I think you have a certain responsibility when you are of the understanding that, like, this is a long campaign. We're going to hit these high levels, you know? I think as a player, you have a little bit of a responsibility to be like, let me start setting up for some late game shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though I don't get this ability for levels.
It's our fishing hole. Yeah.
Like, oh, we get our own villa.
That's what I would do.
I'm going to put a pond in the fucking backyard.
Right. Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, every town I go to, I'm like, where's the watering hole? The literal watering hole.
Right.
Not the tavern. Yeah, that's crazy. There you go. That's Fathomless.
Very, very cool. So the next one is it's a lot, kind of. So basically the next one is the genie. So when you have a genie as a patron, genie is broken down into 4 different types of, I guess I'd call them jinn, maybe. I don't know. There's 4 different genie types. And they each have an element, like an actual element attached to them, whether it be earth, fire, air, water, the typical Avatar stuff. The different types are the Tao, which is an earth genie, the Jinni, which is an air genie, the Afriti, which is a fire genie, and the Merid, which is a water genie. You pick this when you pick this subclass. It does not change. Unlike in the last episode, we had the lunar phases where you got different spells, whatever. This isn't like that. This is, you pick it at the start and then that's what you're stuck with. Depending on which one you go with, you will get your expanded spell list is a little bit different. So you're going to get all of the ones. There's a table where all of these are under the subclass. You're going to get all of the genie ones and then additional ones based on which of the elements that you went with. So the genie spells at level 1 is Detect Good and Evil. Second level spell, Phantasmal Force. 3rd level, create food and water. 4th level, phantasmal killer. 5th level, creation. And 9th level, wish.
Boom.
Oh, boom. You get wish. Wish.
Oh,
everybody loves wish. Yep. But then depending on which little sub genie you go with, you'll get different spells. So the Tao, you get Sanctuary, Spike Growth, Meld into Stone, Stone Shape, and Wall of Stone. Obviously, Earth-based. The Genie, you're getting Thunder Wave, Gust of Wind, Wind Wall, Greater Invisibility, and Seeming. For the Ifriti, you're getting Burning Hands, Scorching Ray, Fireball, Fire Shield, and Flame Strike. And then for the Merid, you get Fog Cloud, Blur, Sleet Storm, Control Water, and then Cone of Cold. So yeah, a lot of different things to go with here. You kind of make your choice as you're going on. No matter what you're picking, you're getting wish. So other than that, it's just kind of flavor how you want to flavor your character. What are you kind of wanting to do with your warlock type of deal? But yeah, all of those spells, awesome.
Yeah.
Now, at 1st level, you also, everybody's seen, Aladdin. The genie has a little lamp or something like that. You get a genie's vessel. This can be any kind of tiny object. There's a list of different vessels that it could be. In the subclass list, oil lamp, a bottle, some kind of a statue, something like that. It doesn't really matter what the vessel is. It's just a hollow vessel of some sort. And it has to be hollow for one reason. Number 1, this is going to be your spellcasting focus. And then number 2, you can use this vessel in a couple of different ways that are absolutely banana sandwich broken. First and foremost, you get the bottled respite feature that you can use as an action. You physically can enter the vessel for a number of hours equal to 2 times your proficiency bonus. You can hear the area around the vessel as if you were there. You can leave early as a bonus action. And then you also exit early if you die or the vessel is destroyed. You can use this vessel as kind of a pocket dimension. The way that it describes it, it's like a 20 by 20 by 20 area that's got cushions and tables and stuff in it for you to like kind of chill in. But you can take items into the vessel and then leave them there. And then if for whatever reason the vessel gets destroyed, the items don't get broken or anything. They just kind of pop out right wherever you are. And you can go into / out of the vessel once per long rest.
Cool.
Yeah, and then also when you're using this vessel as your spellcasting focus, you get the Genie's Wrath feature, which once per turn, when you hit with an attack roll, you can deal extra damage equal to your proficiency bonus then the damage type is based on what your patron is. The Tao does bludgeoning, the Genie does thunder, fire for the Ifriti, and then cold damage for the Merid. Now, the interesting thing about this vessel is there are chances, and I feel like having one at the table, it kind of leads, like if I were to have one at the table, it would lead to some interesting plot points because it can be lost or broken or destroyed or something like that. I mean, even in the earlier spell text, it says it's possible that this thing can be destroyed. Mm-hmm. It has an AC equal to your spell save DC. And then it has hit points equal to your warlock level plus your proficiency bonus. But it is immune to poison and psychic damage. So there's that.
There you go.
But yeah, if it ever is destroyed or lost or something like that, you can do a 1-hour ceremony to get a replacement. And then this ceremony can also be done as part of a short or long rest. And then if the previous vessel exists when you do this ceremony, the old one gets destroyed and you get a new one. So yeah, that's a lot for level 1. This vessel will continue to be even better as time goes on. But then moving on to the level 6, you get the elemental gift. Basically, you gain damage resistance based on whatever genie type you're doing. It's going to be the same as those. It's the same as the Genie's Wrath damage type, so whatever that was, depending on your different genie. As a bonus action, though, also, you get to give yourself a flying speed of 30 feet for 10 minutes with hover, and you can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest.
Wow. At 6th level, too, that's really good.
6th level fly speed.
Yeah, it's really
Love it.
good.
I'm here for it. I love it so much.
You know what actually is driving me bananas really quickly?
What's up?
Is if you look up almost any of those genies in terms of their stat blocks as like monsters, they do not have hover speeds with their fly. I know that because when you guys were on a boat in the Sea of Swords, you were attacked by a Merid, and one of you jumped off and grappled, and that is when I found out that if you grapple a flying creature and its speed goes to 0, that it immediately falls. And I remember looking at this picture of a Merid with the bottom half is like a fucking cyclone of water, and I'm going,
right,
how is this not magical hovering flight? Like, how are you grappling this creature, preventing it from, it doesn't have wings, it's not like it's flapping. Right. And I was so mad. And to find out that now patrons get the fucking like, or excuse me, not even patrons, the warlocks get a hover speed, but the actual fucking patrons don't. God, that drives me nuts. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, because level 10 is where it really gets kind of broken in my mind. So at level 10, you get the Sanctuary Vessel. You get an upgrade for your cool little thing. Now, whenever you use your Bottled Respite feature to go inside the vessel, you can take 5 willing creatures within 30 feet with you.
That's fun.
Yep, you can take them all in there, and then also you're in there now at 2 times your proficiency bonus, so like 8-ish hours. This is just, you can pull the whole group into the bottle and take a long rest.
Wow.
You can eject any number of creatures as a bonus action. If you leave, everyone gets ejected. If you die or the vessel gets destroyed, it's the same thing. Anyone in the vessel for at least 10 minutes gains the benefit of a short rest. 10-minute short rests with this thing. And if you spend any hit dice, you add your proficiency bonus to the HP bonus, that HP that they get. So you can only do this once per long rest, obviously, but you get a free 10-minute short rest.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, because a lot of times where you're standing around and like, do we have time for a long or a short rest? I mean, I don't know. That's an hour. It seems kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to ritual cast Detect Magic. That's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ritual casting anything is 10 minutes. So, it's the same as that. Like, that kind of thing happens all the time. So if you've got time to ritual cast something, you've got time for a short rest now. Not to mention the whole hit dice, you add your proficiency bonus to hit dice is phenomenal. Then at level 14, you thought it was broken before. Get ready. As an action, you get the limited wish feature. So as an action, you can speak a desire to your genie's vessel. Now, the limit on the limited wish is that your desire must be the effect of one spell, 6th level or lower, that has a casting time of 1 action. It can be from any list, and you don't need the requirements, including materials that cost gold.
Wow.
Yeah. It requires nothing. You just whisper into the, hey, I wish my friend was alive again. Boof. Done.
Yeah. That's solid.
Now, the way that they balance this is kind of interesting. There's one other class that I noticed this kind of wild balancing for, because this is broken as hell. After you use this, you can't use it again for 1d4 long rests. So you got to roll for it. And it might be a couple of days before you can do it again.
Yeah.
But still, that's kind of one of those things you kind of take into the mental calculus of how long are we going to be on the road for, or like what are the odds that I'm going to need this again in the near future. But a free casting of any 6 level or lower spell. Anyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's solid.
Broken.
Really, really good. I mean, it kind of plays into what Wish can do.
Right.
One of the easiest things to do with Wish, I mean, when you look up the 9th level spell, The basic use of this spell is to duplicate any other spell of 8th or lower.
Right.
So, like, that makes sense that they've done a limited wish. But still, I mean, it's still so powerful. Any spell.
I mean, eventually
really,
you're
really
going to
cool.
get the wish spell in as a whole every short rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, to me, once you get access to 9th level spells, you get wish.
Well, you wouldn't get... I don't know. How are you seeing that it's every short rest? Because I don't know if it would be every short rest. What's the highest level Warlock spells you get back on a short rest? You don't get your 9th level spells back on a short rest, right? No, you don't. No.
Okay.
Only long rests.
So you get... The way that the Warlock spells work is up to a certain point, you get your 2 or 3 spell slots at that level, and then you get 1 each once you get up into the higher ones?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you only have 1 spell slot of 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's your Mystic
But
Arcanum.
still, yeah. But still, that's... Having wish is just in general is a broken ass spell.
Yeah, it certainly is. It really is a spell that depends on having some serious collaboration and compromise. They give you some good examples and stuff like that. I would urge players to use those examples most of the time.
Yeah.
And
I like the way that this limited wish is...
But
right, because like wish itself is pretty broad in the things that it can do. This limited wish I really like in the fact that it condenses it down. It's basically says pick a 6th level spell and do that spell. That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any kind of weird healing stuff. You can't like bring stuff back from the dead or whatever.
It's whatever the 6th level spells
depending on the spell. Yeah, whatever 6th level spells can do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Absolutely. Because that's an easy one. Like, hey, can I cast 9th level wish and cast, this 8th level spell that I don't have access to? Yes. Easy.
Right.
That's an easy yes. No problem. No questions asked. Or can I do one of the options listed in the wish spell text? Yeah. Instant health, you and yourself and up to 20 creatures that you can see all regain their hit points and as if they have the spell Greater Restoration cast on them. Yeah. You got it. It's in the spell text. I'm fine with that.
Right.
But then when it starts getting into like some crazy ideas of like, can I know exactly what the bad guy is planning? And then it becomes like an information hack and then it gets crazy. But still a lot of possibilities, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Okay.
But yeah, that's the genie patron.
Very cool. Very cool. Next up is the Hexblade. The Hexblade, I feel as though it's almost like the catch-all of the Warlock subclasses, where it's like, I have this idea for a Warlock, but I kind of don't know exactly what the patron would be. Hexblade is where it's at.
Yep.
Especially if you want to delve a little bit deeper into melee, wearing heavier armor, being better with martial weapons, and kind of going that sort of, not that you have to take the Pact of the Blade, but if you're kind of going in that direction, this will all be super helpful. So the Hexblade, just like it sounds, it's going to focus on 2 things. It's going to focus on hexes and blades. Pretty simple. Your expanded spell list, 1st level spells, Shield and Wrathful Smite. Shield, always a great spell. When you're a Warlock, it's a different game. Unless you have other spell slots. It's great for multi-classing because at 1st level you can just get Shield immediately.
Right.
1 multi-class level. It's incredible. There's so much you can do with a single dip into Hexblade.
There's a bunch.
I have a Bard multi-class and it's crazy. Where my Bard multi-class isn't focused on melee. It's focused on spellcasting. But if something gets close, because of all my Hexblade stuff, I can defend myself. And I'm good at it.
Right.
So, expanded spell list. So, 1st level, you get Shield and Wrathful Smite. 2nd level spells, Blur and Branding Smite. 3rd level spells, Blur. Blink and Elemental Weapon. 4th level, Phantasmal Killer, Staggering Smite. 5th level, Banishing Smite, Cone of Cold.
Nice. So this is like a Warlock, like a Warlock Paladin mix up here. And honestly, probably not a bad combo.
No, it's a great combo. Not only are you going to get 2 huge fucking smites with your Warlock spells, but also just a couple extra spell slots in general from the Paladin. Always good. And they both play into Charisma. It makes a ton of sense.
Which makes this next bet even better.
Yes, because first you're going to get Hexblade's Curse. So this is a bonus action. You curse one creature within 30 feet of you for 1 minute. It lasts until the target dies, you die, or you're incapacitated. When you have this curse on the creature, you get a bonus to damage rolls equal to your proficiency bonus, and you crit on a 19 or a 20 against that target. If the target dies while being cursed, you get, and you don't have to do the killing, technically.
Right.
Just that it dies.
When it dies. Yep.
You gain hit points equal to your Warlock level plus Charisma. So that eventually is going to be pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
You can use this Hexblade Curse once per short or long rest. So, Again, one of those abilities that if you're in a battle where there's like one main dude or like a leader, then this is dope as fuck. If it's just a bunch of minions, still useful, but just not as useful. Like it's not as incredible, but still good. Yeah. Just until you can move it later on, it kind of,
Mm-hmm.
But you're also going to get a first level Hex Warrior. This is where you're going to get your proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. Absolutely huge. Again, as a multi-class first level, getting these proficiencies for extra, like, fucking incredible. Yeah. You also get to bond with a weapon on a long rest that you are proficient with and is not two-handed. So unfortunately, you can't dip into Paladin so far with the sense of making your bonded weapon into like that two-handed great sword or something like that, but still,
no, but I mean longsword and shield though. I mean, if you're rocking medium
solid
armor,
as hell. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, my AC's high enough. I'm good with an 18. Right. I don't need to go like super high, and I want to just do more damage.
Yeah.
So you have that option, but the fucking awesome thing, especially when you're dealing with like certain classes like bards, where it feels. Of course, you're going to put a little bit into dex for armor class reasons, but you get to use your charisma for attack and damage rolls instead of strength or dex.
Crazy. Yeah, that's what really makes Hexblade shine. And that's one level. That's a 1 level dip.
Yeah.
To
and you
just
get all that
completely
stuff.
change
Hexblade's
everything.
Curse. You get access to the shield spell if your class didn't already have it with multi-class reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, proficiency with the different armor, shield, martial weapons. And then you can use this with Pact of the Blade, and your benefits will extend to any weapon that's conjured. So there's just so many fucking things you can do with it. It's so good. And that's all at first level. And it, bunch of things. Yeah. It's so good. 6th level, you're going to get Accursed Spectre, or Accursed Spectre. When you slay a humanoid, you can cause its spirit to rise up from its corpse as a spectre. The statistics of which are in the monster manual. It gains temporary hit points equal to half of your Warlock level, gets its own initiative, it remains until the end of your next long rest, and you can only use this once per long rest. Wild.
Yeah, super cool. You get a little buddy.
Yeah, you just get a little spirit, creepazoid, following you around, helping you in battle and stuff. Fucking cool. Pretty cool. Then at 10th level, you get Armor of Hexes. If the target cursed by your Hexblade's Curse hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to roll a d6. On a 4 or higher, the attack instead misses you, regardless of its roll.
That's so crazy.
It's really, really cool.
That's so crazy. So even if it hits you, there's a 50-50 shot it's not going to hit you. Yeah,
it's dope. I mean, it really just comes down to... Oh, man. I'm trying to think. Because you have to ask yourself if shield doesn't make more sense to use your reaction on that, because shield will boost your AC for not just that one attack, but until the end.
Right, yeah, it's one of those things. The multi-attack
have to figure
could
it out.
really...
Because if you're going this far Warlock, then you probably don't have that many spell slots. So there might be a reason that you would rather do this than use one of your few spell slots on shield. You never know, though. Yeah. Sounds dope. Okay, cool. Armor of Hexes.
I love it.
Then at 14th level, you get Master of Hexes. Now, when the target of your Hexblade Curse dies, you can apply it to a different creature. that you can see within 30 feet, provided you are not incapacitated.
Mm-hmm.
When you apply the curse in this way, you do not regain hit points from the death of the previously cursed creature.
Yep.
So
you don't get the temp HP. The temp HP just happens when the quote unquote spell ends. On that one, but if you keep transferring it around, it still gives you the bonus to your damage equal to your proficiency plus 19 and 20 crits regardless. So that's a really good thing to be bouncing around between people. You just don't get the temp HP until you actually physically.
Yeah, because they don't want it to stack, because it's not technically
Right.
it's not temp HP. It's you regain hit points.
HP,
You're healing. Yeah, so if they allowed it to regain with the death of each cursed creature, then you'd be fucking healing yourself all the time, because you could just attach the Hexblade curse to the creature that's closest to death and just keep racking up healing. Would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so finally you get to move it around and stuff like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's like, man, 14th level, I would have loved to move it around a little bit more, even gotten 2 uses of it instead of just 1.
Yeah.
But it just, it's hard. Hexblade is such a cool idea, so strong in the early levels, so front loaded, and then it kind of dies down slightly and could be fixed by just getting 2 uses of Hexblade's curse would be nuts.
Yeah.
Just because there are times where you're like, okay, I'm gonna Hexblade curse
That
this
or
guy,
more than one
and then they
specter
like,
would be cool.
Yeah, something, but still very cool.
Still it's a very, very good subclass for just in its own right, and also as a multi-class fodder, just for how front-loaded it is.
Hell yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so that's the Hexblade. On to the next one, the Undead Patron. This is another one that is absolutely broken in my mind. It's so good. As far as expanded spells, at first level, we're looking at Bane and False Life. Second level, Blindness and Deafness and Phantasmal Force. Third level, Phantom Seed and Speak with Dead. Fourth level, Death Ward and Greater Invisibility. And at fifth level, Anti-Life Shell and Cloud Kill.
Solid
Spells. Very solid expanded spell list here. But let's get into this broken ass class here. All right. So at first level, you get the Form of the Dead feature, which basically you as a bonus action, transform yourself for 1 minute into some weird spooky ooky undead kind of creature thing. You gain temp HP equal to 1d10 plus your warlock level. If you hit a creature with an attack, it forces a wisdom save against that creature. That target is frightened until the end of your next turn if it fails. And you yourself are immune to the frightened condition. You can transform a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. Transformation, super cool. A lot of cool fun things you get from it. I really like the wisdom saving throw that's tacked on to every attack now. All of it's dope. Moving on to level 6, you get the Grave Touched feature. That means you don't need to eat, drink, or breathe anymore. You've just transcended that. You're now just an undead monstrosity. If you hit with an attack roll and roll damage, you can change the damage type to necrotic. And then while you're in your Form of Dread, you can add another damage die when you're doing necrotic damage. So whatever your damage type was, you change it to necrotic. And this can be anything. It just says when you hit with an attack roll and roll damage. That's any attack spell or a physical attack, whatever. If you hit with an attack roll and roll damage, you can change it to necrotic and then add another die to that of the whatever the matching dice is.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Extra damage. Love extra damage. The eating, drinking, and breathing thing, that's a fun RP bit. You know, I'm just imagining like a Pirates of the Caribbean style march across the bottom of the ocean towards something, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on to 10th level, you now become a necrotic husk. You're resistant to necrotic damage. If you're transformed into your Form of Dread, you're immune to necrotic damage. If you're reduced to 0 HP, you can use your reaction to drop to 1 HP instead, and then each creature within 30 feet of you takes 2d10 plus your warlock level of necrotic damage. Jesus. And then after you, no saving throw. Again, there's no saving throw attached to that. It just does it. And then after you use it, you can't use it again for another 1d4 long rests. This is very similar to the genie thing. This is a pretty broken ability. It's restricted by several long rests in between. You might get lucky and get a 1, but then you might get unlucky and get a 4. That is what it is.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's really, really cool. Level 14 is really where I feel it really breaks. You get the spirit projection ability. This allows you to take an action to project your spirit from your body. Your spirit resembles your mortal form in everything except that all of your possessions stay on your body, so no weapons or anything like that. But like your spirit looks like you, sounds like you, all of that. If either you or your spirit form are damaged, it kind of is shared. So anything that happens to the spirit happens to the body and vice versa. You can project your spirit outside of your body for 1 hour or until your concentration is broke. This is like a concentration spell, so if damage would proc a constitution saving throw to maintain concentration. Here's where it kind of gets really interesting. When the projection ends, your spirit can go back to your body, or your body can go back to your spirit. Either way.
Whoa.
Yeah. While you're in spirit form, you gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. There's no mention of non-magical whatever. It's just all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. If you cast a spell from the Conjuration or Necromancy school, it does not require verbal or somatic components or material components that lack a gold cost. So anything that has a gold cost attached to it, you'd still have to pay for that material cost. Everything else, though, no spell components required. Verbal, somatic, nothing. You can just cast it. Yeah. You gain flying speed equal to your walking speed with hover. You can move through creatures and objects as difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside of a creature or an object. And while you're using your form of dread in spirit form, when you deal necrotic damage to a creature, you regain HP equal to half of the amount of damage, the necrotic damage dealt. So, in your form of dread, you are already able to turn all the damage that you do into necrotic damage, add damage to it, and then you're also getting half of that back as health. It's not temp HP, it's regained HP. You can do this once per long rest.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
The spirit form is wild.
Yeah. And you're presumably doing some, like, your 14th level, you have some capability of some high-level necrotic-based spells.
Uh-huh.
And ones that are also part of the necromancy school, and therefore also can't be counterspelled or something like that.
Right, yeah.
So now every necrotic spell for you is like that spell Vampire Touch. Except that spell specifically doesn't do a ton of damage because it also does healing. Like it's balanced that way. Right. Whereas one that only does damage obviously does more damage. So
yeah.
Bro, 6th level necromancy spell, Circle of Death. A sphere of negative energy ripples out in a 60-foot radius sphere. Each creature con save or takes 8d6. And then that would become 9d6. Because or is that one not an attack?
Because of Grave Touch. Oh wait, that's the big thing.
Yeah, sneaky sons of guns.
But it already does necrotic damage, so you're going to be getting back that damage no matter what, because it's still necrotic damage. It just you wouldn't be able to add the die to it because it's not an attack roll that you're rolling damage on.
I see. Well, I think Finger of Death is also a save.
I think that's how that was worded.
On save. I'm just getting into the really high level one, see if there's any bullshit.
Oh,
man,
no.
Either way,
while you're using your form of dread, you can roll 1 additional damage die when determining necrotic damage the target takes.
Oh, there you go. So as long as it's necrotic damage. Damn. That's crazy.
In addition, once during each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack roll or roll damage against a creature, you can replace the damage type with necrotic damage. While you're using your form of dread, you can roll one additional damage die when determining the necrotic damage the target takes. I read that as it only applies to attacks with an attack roll and damage.
What is the name of this ability again?
Grave Touched.
During each of your turns when you hit a creature with an attack. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that additional damage die only applies to attack roll things. So if it's a saving throw, you can't add it, but I'm sure there are plenty of higher level spells that are attack roll spells that you can just turn into necrotic damage.
Yeah, that's cool as hell. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the undead. It's a good one.
Very cool. So this subclass comes from Ravenloft, Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of, one
of those
shit.
side campaign things.
Yeah, evil spooky shit. And then we have the remarkably similar, but probably way worse. I haven't read anything about it. I'm just gonna make an assumption because it's from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, and so one is newer than the other. I'm just gonna assume that the Undying, as opposed to the Undead, this is the Undying.
Mm-hmm.
This person is not yet undead; they are undying. Let's get into it. Let's see what's up.
It's not that they've beaten death; they just won't die.
Yes. So our expanded spell list. First level spells, False Life and Ray of Sickness. Second level, Blindness, Deafness, and Silence. Third level, Feign Death, Speak with Dead. Fourth level, Aura of Life and Death Ward. Fifth level, Contagion, Legend Lore. Pretty solid spells. I mean, all of them seem really useful except for Feign Death. I've never found that spell to be helpful or interesting in any way.
Ever one time.
I think it's like a one-trick pony. Like, there's going to be one funny scenario where you're like, let's play dead. Ha ha ha.
Right.
Third level spell. What a waste. I just can't. Yeah. I can't get behind that spell. I don't understand it. Anyway, like the fact that spell made it past a room of developers and writers and game designers for Baldur's Gate 3 and made its way into Baldur's Gate 3 boggles my fucking mind. Feign Death is a terrible spell. And when I'm president, I will get rid of it.
So the one thing that I will say for Feign Death is that it is a cleric or druid spell. So technically, you don't have to always have it prepared. You can just like pick it up on a long rest as needed.
Yeah. I guess.
Otherwise, waste of a spell.
Time.
Yeah, right. Otherwise, waste of a spell.
At first level, we also get Among the Dead. So you get the Spare the Dying cantrip. You have advantage on saving throws against disease. And if an undead targets you directly with an attack or a harmful spell, the creature must make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature has to choose a new target or forfeit targeting someone instead of you, potentially wasting the attack or spell. On a successful save, the creature is immune to this effect for 24 hours. An undead is also immune to this effect for 24 hours if you target it with an attack or a harmful spell. Fucking dumb. Overall dumb. There's parts of this where you might think this is interesting. Number one, it depends on it being undead. It's so specific.
Right.
Has to be undead.
So specific.
The other thing is, the only way that this maintains any like decency is the idea that like you're not attacking it at all.
Right.
And so like you can't attack it if you want to have this like permanent sanctuary on yourself and stuff like that. I just like don't. Yeah. I mean, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, and the fact that once it saves one time, that's it. It's over.
Yeah, and then it stops being useful for the next 24 hours. In which case, why?
Yeah.
And so then, like the idea, this is another one where it's so specific on the idea that they were going for when they wrote these Sword Coast ones. Battle Rager, the Banneret, that like all of these have been so hyper specific. They have such a keyed in concept, and they're too dialed in almost.
Right.
And so they
There's
lose focus a little bit.
They made it for specific people almost. And it's like, if you don't want to play in this specific way, then you're not going to have any fun with this
setting
class.
That is like full of undead.
Right.
If you're doing a whole setting where undead is huge, then yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like if I had this subclass in the What Lies in the Darkness, incredible. Mm-hmm. I have advantage on saving throws against disease. I have Spare the Dying. That's helpful as hell. And undead targets just have a built-in auto sanctuary on me until I break it. That's good because that whole setting was undead. So totally different. Anyway, 6th level, you get Defy Death. You regain 1d8 plus your Constitution modifier's worth of hit points when you succeed on a death save or when you stabilize a creature with Spare the Dying. And you can only do this once per long rest.
Why?
Interesting.
Once per long rest is way too few times.
Way too few times.
Way too few times.
I'll tell you what.
Give me proficiency bonus times per long rest.
Oh, that's too much.
That's too much, you think?
I think so. Because of that, because it's when you succeed on a death save. I just think there's going to be so many times where you succeed on death saves and then it's just like, it'll get a little broken. People just getting up over and over.
That's
and over
fair.
again.
That's
but
fair.
even half your proficiency bonus, maybe. I don't know. That would make it a max of 3 times at 17th level, I think. But either way, yeah, I do think that there's something here. You stabilize a creature.
Yeah, because I kind of like this feature. Who's
regaining the hit points when you stabilize another creature?
You are.
I'd rather save that for when I'm succeeding death saves.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if I only get one of these per long rest, hey, if I stabilize a creature with Spare the Dying, do not give me the fucking hit points. Please give me the option of saying no. I'd rather save it for when I get on death saves. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I used it when I wasn't even down that many hit points. And I've stabilized Jack.
Well, it says you can regain hit points, so you can choose.
I hope so.
Yeah, the spell text does have can in there, so you can regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your Constitution modifier.
Okay.
So it doesn't automatically burn. I think that would be stupid if it automatically burned anytime you did one of the two things.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay. So Defy Death. Great. Number 10, Undying Nature. Can hold breath indefinitely. Don't require food, water, or sleep. Sleep is a crazy one. Still require rest to reduce exhaustion and benefit from short and long rests. Oh my god. You age at a slower rate. 10 years equals 1 year, and you're immune to magical aging. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's cool flavor. It's cool RP. There's parts of it that might seem interesting. Overall, as a 10th level, like your 10th level, here's the things you get.
Yeah, no.
Garbage.
This reads as a racial feat to me. If I'm being perfectly honest, like this could be.
This reads as like, hey, at 10th level, here's something actually fucking useful and cool, and you can hold your breath indefinitely. Also, do you know what I mean?
Right.
This ought to be like a cherry on top. Like, hey, you're immune to all disease, and you age at a slower rate. Huh?
Okay, that's cool. Not hey. This is all you don't need sleep per se, but you do need rest.
Oh my god. Let's just get this one over with. At 14th level.
At
14th level you get I can't believe we're ending on this note. At 14th level you get Indestructible Life. On your turn you can use a bonus action to regain, get this gang, 1d8 plus your Warlock level, so 14. 1d8 plus 14 worth of hit points.
Oh boy.
It can reattach limbs.
Oh boy.
You get to do this once per short or long rest.
Wow. 14th level. Wow.
The Celestial Warlock gets a pool of D6s.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you? 1 plus the Warlock level. At fucking 14th level, I would have 15 D6s worth of healing I could dish out. At 5 a pop if my charisma's a 5. Each bonus action. 5d6.
Yeah.
Get fucked. Undying subclass. I don't know why we keep going over these Sword Coast ones.
Yeah,
They
we
are
should
trash.
really just stop talking about Sword Coast. It's just not that great.
I know. We're so close to the end. We gotta
Yeah.
finish them. But
Yeah.
I think overall, guess what? Undying is garbage. It's not good. There's like
Trash.
cool ideas in here. Once again, they just missed the mark. And then genuinely, the trend we've been seeing remains true. The newer ones just seem to have a big punch.
Yeah.
I have to say though, a bit of a sleeper from the Undead though, from this Ravenloft.
Yeah. The Ravenloft one is good.
Setting. That one was really, really good. I like the Hexblade is so good for multi-classing. It's just hard to imagine myself staying in for much longer.
Yeah.
But then Genie adds some cool flavor to it. Fathomless is very specific,
I like the
but
wishes
still cool.
aspects of the Genie. Like, I like the wishes. That's
the
cool.
wishes are cool. I like the use of the vessel.
The vessel too.
That's a cool
The
idea.
vessel's really cool. Being able to bring the friends into the vessel.
Yeah.
And it's a 10-minute short. The 10-minute short rest broken.
Yeah, there's some really cool ideas behind that. It's one of those things I think you would have to start getting into with that, the 10-minute short rest thing. You'd have to start getting into like rules as written, the fact that you actually can only take so many short rests between long rests.
Right.
Like there's like little tiny dumb things in there where it's just a conversation between players.
Well, you
and
can
this
only
is true
do
all the
it
time.
once per long rest though too. Like the
no doubt.
vessel
That's
thing.
Yeah, there's you're gonna find things when it comes to character creation, and this is true for all of D&D, older editions, 2024 versions. You're gonna find those things where it's like, okay, I can actually combine these bunch of things to create this master class godlike character and fully break the game. There's a difference between like I'm making powerful characters and I'm breaking the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because breaking the game, I think of the connotation of breaking the game. The game is no longer fun. You cannot play it anymore because it is broken.
Right.
So no one wants to break the game. We might throw the phrase around as a joke,
breaking,
which is one thing. Like, that's normal. That's just the vernacular. But, like, it's important to know that, like, hey, there's a possibility that you spending hours and being like, haha, I have figured out how to get 17 attacks per attack action. That's cute for you. That actually is not fun to the rest of the table.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, unless you guys all go into it saying, let's build broken ass characters because that's the vibe of this session, this campaign, that's different. But
yeah,
I just think, it really depends on the setting and stuff like that, and the table and the camaraderie and stuff. Because it's truly like when you have one player at the table who's going balls to the wall and others aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, it does become very lopsided because that one person who's trying to break the game is taking forever for all of their actions and stuff most of the time. Whereas this other person who's maybe not into that is just like, okay, I'm going to do my attack action and be done, on one side of, the very extreme side of things where like, that one person is going to be taking away from the rest of the table's playtime because they're trying to do so much wild bananas crap.
Yeah, and I think like the game designers, like the people who like work on D&D, they're not idiots. They know that some of these things can be exploited, but I think there's a difference between coming at it with, and this is an expression that I just heard recently from the Dungeon Dude, so I'm just going to give them credit by saying that, but there's a difference when you come at these like loopholes and these like crazy combinations with good faith and then bad faith. Right. Like it's different to be like, oh, this is a cool combination of things. Like that's fun. And then there's a difference between being like, haha, actually, these idiots, I can fucking, I have an AC of 1,000 and I have the speed of light. And you're like, okay, come on, man. It's like, no, I was allowed to do this. Anyway, I'm deep on a Forgotten Realms wiki, and I've discovered something. This is, big shout out to Big Milk. Death cheese. Death cheese is a unique cheese that comes from the swamps bordering Cormyr and Sembia. that's a real cheese in the Forgotten Realms wiki.
All right. That's all we can get into this time.
today.
You can find us at TikTok and Instagram at SoYouWannaBeADM, or you can ask us a question at SoYouWannaBeADM@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars in a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon and our Twitch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See.
And now I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Lee, we can't wait to roll dice with you. Nub Muffins, may Paylor's light shine upon you. And there's Vanessa D, Talk Screen, and Tappy. If you want a shout out, join the Adult or Ancient Dragon gangs on Patreon. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.